Dude, let's be honest, I'm really disappointed with the Miami Dolphins' performance this season. Unfortunately, the front office ended up making a lot of mistakes again, and here we are, in this embarrassing situation. I don't know about you, but I'm going to keep watching the games, but I'm not going to spend any more money going to the stadium. If you're also really upset about this situation with the team, hit the like button so I know I'm not alone. If possible, comment something like, Chris Grier needs to be fired. Well, let's get to today's news. The Miami Dolphins are preparing for a crucial matchup against the New York Jets this Sunday, and the injury report is getting as much attention as the game itself. Head coach Mike McDaniel offered some critical updates on Friday, addressing the status of key players and what their availability means for this pivotal matchup. Let's dive into the details and implications for the Dolphins as they continue to chase a playoff spot. First, let's talk about the offensive line, a critical component of the Dolphins' success this season. Terron Armstead, the burly left tackle who has been battling a lingering knee injury, remains on track to play. Armstead's presence on the field, even limited in practice, has been invaluable. McDaniel acknowledged that Armstead has been able to perform at a high level despite his injuries, calling him a rare breed. His ability to anchor the line will be essential against the Jets' formidable defensive front. On the other side of the line, Kendall Lamb is also expected to see the field, though McDaniel expressed some concern about Lamb's readiness. After a challenging outing against the Green Bay Packers, all eyes will be on Lamb to see if he can elevate his game on Sunday. The Dolphins are also keeping an eye on cornerback Kendall Fuller, who is progressing through concussion protocol. McDaniel sounded optimistic about Fuller's chances of clearing the protocol in time for the game, though it remains a situation to be monitored closely. Fuller has already missed 3 games this season with a second concussion, a problem that raises long-term concerns. His availability would provide a significant boost to a secondary task with containing the Jets' passing game. Linebacker Anthony Walker and cornerback Kader Kohou are 2 other players who are trending in the right direction. Walker is dealing with a hamstring injury, while Kohou injured his back during the Packers game. Both players participated in Friday's practice without setbacks, fueling optimism that they will see action on Sunday. Their presence could make a substantial difference, especially as the Dolphins look to bolster their defensive unit against a physical Jets attack. While there's positive news for some, the outlook is less encouraging for others. Outside linebackers Bradley Chubb and Cam Good remain long shots to play. Both are in the middle of their 21-day practice window as they recover from knee injuries that have kept them on the physically unable to perform (PUP) list since July. McDaniel suggested that activating them this week would be premature, though discussions with general manager Chris Grier will continue. Chubb's potential return later in the season hinges heavily on Sunday's outcome. A win could fast-track his availability for a critical game against the Houston Texans, but a loss might lead to the Dolphins shifting their focus to younger players for the remainder of the season. Speaking of the Jets, their injury situation could play a decisive role in Sunday's game. Key defensive players like C.J. Mosley are officially out, while star cornerback Sauce Gardner and running back Breece Hall are listed as doubtful. Additionally, the Jets are dealing with injuries to multiple offensive linemen, leaving their roster severely hampered. These absences could provide the Dolphins with a much-needed edge as they fight to keep their playoff hopes alive. The stakes couldn't be higher for Miami. Currently sitting at a 13% chance to make the playoffs, a win against the Jets would bump that figure to 18%, with the potential for further increases depending on the outcomes of other games this weekend. The Dolphins will also be keeping an eye on matchups involving the Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Chargers, and Denver Broncos, as those results could significantly influence the playoff picture. However, a loss to the Jets would be catastrophic, effectively ending the team's postseason aspirations and likely prompting the Dolphins to place veterans like Tyreek Hill, Terron Armstead, and Javon Holland on injured reserve to prioritize their long-term health. This Sunday's game isn't just about staying in the playoff hunt, it's about the team's identity and future direction. The Dolphins have a history of resilience, but this season has tested that resolve in new ways. The roster decisions and performance in this game will set the tone not just for the remaining games, but also for the offseason. Let us know what you think. Are you optimistic about the team's chances against the Jets, or do you think injuries will ultimately derail the Dolphins' playoff hopes? Share your thoughts below. The injury situation surrounding the Miami Dolphins continues to highlight just how critical this week's matchup against the New York Jets will be for the team's aspirations. Beyond the immediate concerns about player availability, there's also the strategic question of how the Dolphins manage their personnel if Sunday's result doesn't go their way. Head coach Mike McDaniel's remarks offered some insight into the balancing act between staying competitive now and preserving key players for the future. One notable point of discussion is the potential return of edge rushers Bradley Chubb and Cam Good. Both players are in the midst midst of a 21-day practice window, but McDaniel was clear that their activation this week would be unlikely. Chubb, in particular, represents a key piece of Miami's defense, and his absence has been felt throughout the season. McDaniel hinted that the decision to activate Chubb would hinge on Sunday's outcome. A win against the Jets could lead to Chubb returning in time for the following week's game against the Texans, but a loss might prompt the team to prioritize its younger players for the remainder of the season. The ripple effects of a loss could be significant for the Dolphins roster. McDaniel suggested that several veterans might be placed on injured reserve if Miami's playoff hopes are extinguished. This includes high-profile players like Tyreek Hill, who has been battling a wrist injury, and Terron Armstead, whose knee issues have been a persistent concern. Additionally, safety Javon Holland could also be sidelined as the team shifts focus toward preserving key contributors for 2024. Another intriguing storyline is the limited usage of running back Raheem Mostert in recent weeks. Despite being listed with a hip injury, McDaniel downplayed its impact on Mostert's carries, attributing the reduced workload to the Dolphins' desire to involve their other talented running backs. Mostert's role moving forward could reflect Miami's overall approach, balancing the need to win now with the opportunity to evaluate younger talent. As for the Jets, their own injury struggles could provide a silver lining for the Dolphins. Cornerback Sauce Gardner and running back Breece Hall, two of New York's most dynamic players, are doubtful for Sunday's game. With C.J. Mosley already ruled out and multiple offensive linemen listed as questionable, the Jets are entering this game with a battered roster. This creates a unique opportunity for Miami to exploit mismatches, particularly on offense, where Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle could take advantage of a weakened secondary. The playoff implications of this game cannot be overstated. Miami's 13% playoff chances could climb to 18% with a win, and favorable outcomes in other games could push that figure even higher. The Dolphins are particularly watching the Chiefs-Chargers matchup and the Broncos-Colts game in the following week. A victory against the Jets would keep Miami in contention, but the margin for error remains razor-thin. Conversely, a loss would all but eliminate the Dolphins from the playoff picture, setting off a chain reaction of roster moves and strategic shifts. McDaniel also touched on the broader implications for the team's future, hinting at a potential youth movement if the season takes a downturn. This would give younger players valuable experience while also positioning the team for an improved draft pick. Currently projected to hold the 12th overall pick, the Dolphins could move into the top 10 with a losing streak, though it's clear McDaniel and the players are still focused on competing as long as postseason hopes remain alive. Looking beyond the immediate challenges, McDaniel addressed concerns about the Dolphins' salary cap situation heading into the offseason. While some fans have expressed alarm about the team's financial flexibility, McDaniel reassured that there are several moves the Dolphins can make to create cap space. With the NFL's cap expected to rise, Miami is well positioned to navigate these challenges, though the focus remains firmly on the present. What do you think about the Dolphins' current situation? Should the team push forward at full strength for a playoff run, or is it time to start thinking about the future? Let us know your thoughts as we gear up for a crucial game on Sunday.